Time for a revising of the Fujifilm lenses. As I mentioned before on the full review of the 23mm f2, now either way, all the shots are completely straight out of camera. Yes, they may require a little bit of tweaking here or there, but I promised any video review would be completely straight out of camera as far as test shots on a new lens, and that is exactly what these are. I was not expecting a tremendous amount from the 23mm, but boy was I surprised. I was surprised exactly like the 16mm. Tested every Fuji lens. I own every Fuji lens except for three that I'm not particularly hot on: the 23mm f1.4, the 18mm, and the 100 to 400mm Fuji. Been asked this question repeatedly since making the review. What is the three lenses that you would take for traveling? Now, all three of these combined aren't exactly that small. Ultimately, I would actually take two lenses. Now, my type of notion of travel photography and yours may be totally different. Obviously, the 55 to 200 is a perfect travel lens. It's certainly a lot smaller than the 50 to 140. The only reason that every time I've gone trip traveling, I haven't slept well in 3 days, and I've also been out shooting all day. Maybe it's a heat stroke. It's been kind of warm today too, and outside all day shooting. Is that every time I took pictures and travel with telephoto, they just look like snapshots. It doesn't matter. I just never really found that intimacy for using it. A lot of people love to take a telephoto lens for travel. It depends on where you're going, too. If everything's going to be out in the mountains and far off and you absolutely need a telephoto, that's certainly understandable. But for general urban travel photography, the notion of whipping out a nice telephoto to slap on your Fuji is certainly far, far less than even slightly desirable. And every time I've taken a tele with me traveling, at least in my case, I've not found use for it. When I did, I did not like the pictures. The one lens that I would take, along with one prime, now the 23 is definitely the perfect street lens. Now, there's only two lenses that I can actually say are now a must-own Fujifilm lens. The 16, which is their absolute best. This lens actually shouldn't even exist. It's that incredible. You could do pseudo macro with it. You could actually get in this close, which makes it absolutely divine. The highest recommended Fuji lens, period, is the 16mm f1.4. Certainly the most universal, as I've said many times. The 23mm f2, which is a 35mm equivalent. It's the same reason the 23mm f2 is the lens that is permanently attached, not the specific 23mm f2, the lens is permanently attached to the Fuji X100T. It is that lens and that lens only for a reason. Ask any professional photographers, like you can have only one lens to take with you on a trip, they're basically going to tell you a fast 35, a really good 35 actually, a millimeter equivalent of some variety, which is what this is. 23mm f2 is a 35mm f2 equivalent. This lens is really very awesome. I was very shocked. It is just sharp as a damn razor. The vignetting, the distortion, all absolutely exquisite in a good way. My God, this is the one lens that's going to stay glued to one of my Fuji's X-T2s at all times. Absolutely love the piss out of it. Now I've been asked to contrast this with, and I've got a couple of those as well, the 27mm Fuji. The 27mm is a very inexpensive Chinese-made pancake lens. This is made in Japan. Not that there's really any difference. They're both quality lenses from Fuji. But what's the issue with the 27mm on the Fuji X-T2? If you're going to do any video work at all, forget about it. No dice. No bueno. That lens is noisy as chickens having sex in the middle of the night while you're trying to sleep. Only a farmer would know what that would be like. I'm not a farmer, but I know what that is. Very noisy. Even on the X-T2, even though it is faster than obviously the X-T1, the 27mm is slow, insanely slow. It's just too damn slow. What is the benefit, therefore, of the 27mm 2.8? It's basically like a lens cap, which means, like in the wintertime, if you were going to do some sort of whip your camera out from underneath your coat, photography or urban. You can hide your camera completely underneath your coat or jacket or whatever, blazer, whatever it is you're wearing, and it's as completely as flat as the camera basically. So those are its advantages. So far as any other advantage, no dice on speed, no way in hell for video, and autofocus to slow. So there's really no dare comparing the 27mm 2.8 to this, which is incredibly fast. It's about 10% faster, and I did detail checking today against a 35mm f2 Fuji. It's insanely quiet, very fast. And oh my god, the lens hood stays on the lens permanently, and the cap attaches right there. This is the lens hood right here. Huge improvement. And by the way, this is backwards compatible with the 35mm, this lens hood. You can slap it on the 35mm f2 Fuji lens. So, incredible. As far as what I would take for travel, I would take the 23mm and my other favorite, which usually lenses like this is the 18-135 Fuji, which is basically like a 24-200 equivalent. Okay, 24-200 basically. This lens is really damn good. This lens is growing on me faster and better in a slow rather than immediate way than any other Fuji lens. There's even a couple of Fuji shooters that almost have this permanently glued onto their Fujifilm cameras. It's that damn good. What, really? A telephoto like this, 18-135? Yes, this lens really is that good, and that's I really don't say that about super zooms like this. Really good super zooms I can count on less than one hand. Really good super zooms, really I can only think of 3 of them, and this is one of 3. And I'm not talking about just Fuji, I'm talking about Nikon and Fuji. Nikon makes a lot of super zooms. I can only count 3 awesome super zoom lenses, and this is one of them, and it's from Fuji, the 18-135. So good I got 2 of them. Why did I buy a second one? I have no idea. Pure insanity, I suppose. But for trip and travel, I would definitely have and buy the 18-135, and it would be a toss-up. I mean, really, if it were only 3 lenses, it would definitely be these 3, the 18-135, the 23mm f2, and the 16mm f1.4. This lens is just absolutely, oh my god, this lens is unbelievable. This is Fuji's best prime lens by far, not my opinion. I mean, it just damn well is. The lens is so good it shouldn't even exist. I mean that really, almost literally. Secondly, it's like, well, what a toss-up between the quad linear motor and the 90mm f2 Fuji. That lens has no optical image stabilization, but neither do either one of these. I mean, that's a big honking lens. It's not ideal for travel. It's not an ideal replacement as a telephoto lens. I certainly would not take that as a travel lens. It's a portraiture lens. I mean, it's specifically basically like a 135mm head and shoulder shot lens. Very, very, very fast. It's definitely, unquestionably, with its quad linear motor, the 90mm is wham! The fastest autofocus lens Fuji has. Period. Not my opinion. It's right there. But it has no OIS, and it's not optical image stabilization, and it's a sunny lens only. It's not really an indoor lens. This lens, however, this is one of those lenses. It's like I've never removed it. It's going to stay glued on one of my Fuji X-T2s, the 23mm f2. Wow, my God, this lens. I mean, damn, this lens. Damn. Really very shocked today. Really, it wasn't as much of a shocker as the 16 is, but I don't think any lens is ever going to come that close to shocking the hell out of me. So anyway, the 23mm is absolutely epic, incredible. I don't suffer from NTS, which is new toy syndrome. This lens is that damn good. Here is the size of the lens once you take the lens hood and the lens cap off, which is one little unique piece there, huh? That's it. The 23mm f2. Sharp as piss. Color saturation incredible. Great bandwidth. Vignetting. Distortion. This lens is it. It's the cat's ass, the bee's knees. It's where it's at. It's the dog's bullocks, as the English say. It is. if I were to only have two lenses for travel, I mean, I would want the ultra wide, the 16 millimeter, and probably the 18 to 135, but I would feel so neglected. This lens ain't that big. I would find the room for this lens if I were to take a nice long month-long trip of Europe and I were only to take one camera and three lenses, which would be perfect. It would be the 18 to 135, the 23 millimeter f2, and the 16-1.4, which ironically, these two are the only two lenses that I have deemed, and that's just me, okay? But I mean, thinking about it logically, regardless of what type of photographer you are, these are the two lenses that I really unequivocally, after long thought, deem the two must-own Fuji lenses. Sorry to say that, but this lens isn't that cheap either. You know, it's $450. It's not like I'm recommending as a must-own Fuji lens some really expensive lens like the 50 to 140. You know, that's it's a lot of damn money. This lens isn't that expensive. And it's that damn good. Yeah, it is. No hype. I get no kickbacks. Phony, Fuji. I said phony. Fuji doesn't give me anything. And I had to pay for this lens with my own money. I also had to pay $40 shipping to have this thing overnighted to me. This lens is nowhere to be found in the United States. I do know where a couple of them still are. They may not still be there anymore. Place out in California. It's weird. Thanks for hooking me up. I didn't get anything for free. I had to pay for it and the shipping. But anyway, that's it. That's the rundown of the two must-own Fujifilm lenses and the three lenses or two lenses that I would take on a nice long trip with me. Thanks for watching. Catch you later. Hasta la vista.